Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into the chronological story of one of the absolute most violent tornadoes in recorded history, and the incredible, almost unbelievable human resilience that followed in its wake. We're going to break down the science, walk through the exact timeline, and look at the aftermath of the 2013 Moore EF5 tornado. It's a story that completely reshaped an American town and transformed how we think about severe weather preparedness. Let's get right into it.
Picture this. It's May 20th, 2013, and we start on what felt like a completely normal, beautiful spring morning in Moore, Oklahoma. Schools were open, families were heading off to work, kids were laughing on playgrounds. Everything felt, well, ordinary. But before that afternoon was over, a 39-minute EF5 monster would change thousands of those lives forever. This wasn't just your run-of-the-mill severe thunderstorm. This was a monster wide enough to swallow entire neighborhoods in seconds, and powerful enough to literally erase well-built homes right off their foundations.
Section 1. Anatomy of a Disaster, the Science of a Supercell.
So every spring, the central United States basically turns into a meteorological battleground. Look at how these two contrasting air masses collide. You've got this warm, heavy, moisture-filled air moving north from the Gulf of Mexico, crashing right into cold, dry air dropping down from the Rocky Mountains in Canada. Early that morning, weather experts saw a powerful upper-level storm system intersecting perfectly with that humid Gulf air. It's like a giant atmospheric powder keg. The atmosphere was getting incredibly unstable, setting the stage for something truly catastrophic.
But instability alone doesn't create a monster. The real trigger here is wind shear. Wind shear is essentially this phenomenon where wind changes its speed and its direction really drastically as you go higher up into the atmosphere. It acts like an engine. When you mix that extreme instability with severe wind shear, it takes an ordinary thunderstorm and starts rotating it into what we call a supercell. And these supercells, they're responsible for nearly every violent tornado in history. Forecasters absolutely knew this danger was real, and they were actually issuing warnings hours before the first funnel even formed.
Section 2. Tracking the Monster. 39 Minutes of Terror. Let's track this thing minute by minute, because the speed at which this disaster unfolded is just staggering. Warnings went out in the morning. Then at 2:56 p.m., the tornado was officially born just southwest of Newcastle as a relatively small rotation, but it grew at a terrifying rate. By 3:10 p.m., just 14 minutes later, it slammed into Moore as this massive violent wedge. Sirens are screaming, TV meteorologists are literally pleading with residents to take cover. And then, at 3:35 p.m., the tornado finally dissipates. Just 39 minutes on the ground, but it changed the landscape forever. To really wrap our heads around the sheer magnitude of this storm, get this. It expanded to 1.3 miles wide. 1.3 miles! Imagine standing on one side of this funnel and not even being able to see the other side through the blinding wall of swirling debris. Cars simply vanished inside it, power poles were snapped like twigs, and massive, old-growth trees were ripped completely out of the dirt.
And it wasn't just massive, it was packing winds exceeding 200 miles per hour. That earned it a rare EF5 rating, the highest possible rating on the enhanced Fujita scale. At that unimaginable strength, the wind doesn't just damage buildings, it completely obliterates them. We're talking about a force capable of tossing multi-ton vehicles through the air and twisting steel beams like they're made of clay. The kinetic energy unleashed on Moore that day was quite literally one of the most violent forces nature can possibly produce.
As it approached, the sky turned this really eerie, sickly green color, and the air got strangely still. And then came the sound. Survivors huddled in closets and under staircases kept repeating the exact same description. It sounded like dozens of jet engines mixed with the deafening roar of a freight train. That was the sound of the monster arriving, giving people only minutes or sometimes just seconds to brace themselves.
Now, this brings us to one of the most heartbreaking, yet absolutely inspiring parts of this whole story. Plaza Towers and Briarwood elementary schools took direct hits. And here's the thing, they didn't have underground storm shelters. So the teachers, with only moments to react, pulled students into hallways and bathrooms, and heroically covered the kids with their own bodies. They used themselves as human shields as the brick walls and roofs literally collapsed on top of them.
Survivors completely credit the absolute unwavering bravery of these teachers with saving so many young lives that day.
Section 3. Rescue and Recovery. The silence after the storm. After those 39 minutes of chaos, the roar vanished. And what replaced it was this unsettling, heavy silence. But that silence was immediately broken by humanity shining its absolute brightest. The landscape was totally unrecognizable. Street signs gone, landmarks erased, but ordinary citizens and first responders didn't hesitate. People who had just lost everything literally formed human chains to rapidly clear mountains of debris. You had neighbors lifting massive wooden beams by hand, search dogs sniffing through the rubble, and emergency helicopters landing right in the middle of ruined streets. But the physical and emotional toll, it was staggering. The storm carved a continuous 17-mile path of destruction. 24 lives were tragically lost, including several children. More than 370 people were injured, and well over 1,000 homes were just entirely wiped out. The financial impact soared over $2 billion, making it one of the most expensive tornado disasters in U.S. history. But you know, as so many survivors pointed out, there isn't a number in the world that can truly capture the emotional scars left behind. And here is a fact that is just chilling to think about. The updraft of an EF5 is so incredibly powerful, it basically acts like a giant vacuum. Personal belongings, photographs, home insulation, they were violently sucked thousands of feet into the atmosphere and dropped miles and miles away. Lightweight debris was found scattered across fields completely removed from more. It's just a haunting, widespread reminder of the storm's unimaginable power, finding someone's family photos falling from the sky hours later.
Section 4. Lessons from the rubble. Transforming tornado safety.
Okay, so how do you even begin to move forward from something like this? Well, the tragedy forced scientists and officials to completely rethink modern emergency systems. They poured millions of dollars into building reinforced safe rooms in schools. They implemented much stronger local building codes. Meteorologists meticulously studied every second of the storm to refine radar technology for more accurate tracking. And emergency communications got a massive overhaul. Because, look, we obviously can't stop a tornado from forming, but if we can give a community just a few extra minutes of warning, that's an absolute game changer. That saves lives.
Section 5. A Resilient Legacy. Rebuilding More.
In the days following May 20th, the town looked like a war zone, but more flat out refused to give up. Charities, utility crews, and strangers from neighboring states united to clear the rubble, slowly making way for rebuilt homes and new schools equipped with dedicated safe rooms. But looking at this incredibly resilient, transformed community today, we have to ask a really vital question. Could this happen again? The hard truth is, yes. Every spring, the conditions are there in Tornado Alley. Advances in tech and engineering have given us a fighting chance for sure, but as our communities keep growing and weather patterns get more unpredictable, are we truly ready for the next monster? That's the question scientists are still racing to answer today. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.